Hi, my name is Mike Lawrence. This video is one of a set which is intended to provide a different interpretation of the experimental results that constitute the foundation of current physics. It is clear that the present explanation for what we see in the universe is good in many ways, but it is missing an overall coherence. My view is that we need to look at physics with new eyes and consider an interpretation that explains most things well, even if it does question just about everything. I do not disagree with any experimental results, only the interpretation of those results. And I do not say that the hypothesis that I'll be talking about in these videos is the theory of everything, and that everything I suggest is correct, but it is a start. Each video in the set will cover an aspect of physics. The whole set needs to be understood together in combination, because many aspects rely on each other, and any one taken on its own may not be convincing to those relying on the current interpretations, some of whom may actually be offended by the hypothesis. There will be links in the videos to other videos in the set that cover closely related or overlapping aspects. Within the boxes in the videos are representations of the motions of the particles and their composites, which I will be explaining more fully. I'm happy to answer questions where I can, perhaps providing links to where a deeper mathematical analysis shows why I say what I do, since equations and graphs do not make good videos, and will post replies where appropriate on Twitter. I hope you enjoy the videos and they enable you to better appreciate the absolute symmetry and simplicity of nature. But please remember, I'm not an experienced presenter, and although I state everything as if it were correct, this is only a hypothesis. This is video 18, how to distinguish matter and antimatter and why there is no asymmetry. In a definition of particles as points, there are few degrees of freedom available to define matter and antimatter. There are only charge, spin, and mass to consider, and the antimatter partner to the negative charge spin plus a half electron is defined to be the positive charge spin minus a half positron. Whether the mass of both is positive is still a discussion point. However, in the pre-fermion meon hypothesis, there are more degrees of freedom available. Apart from the sign of each meon, its twist orientation, and the chain direction of travel, there is also which way the chain turns to form a loop. The result is that the anti-loop of the negative charge spin plus a half electron is the positive charge spin plus a half positron. Since the gravitational effect is due to the rotation of the meons in the loop dragging the background, the result is the same for both, that they appear to have attractive only positive mass. Here the only difference between a loop and an anti-loop is the sign of charge. There needs to be some definition of what a loop and an anti-loop means in terms of matter and antimatter. Since there are always the same number of positive and negative charges in the universe, the number of loops and anti-loops, and therefore of antimatter and matter loops, will overall always be the same. Although there may not be a perfect loop match, number of loops versus anti-loops, the charge match will be exact. There is therefore no matter-antimatter asymmetry. So a photon being, for example, an electron and positron rotating in the same sense, is a perfect loop and antiloop or matter-antimatter composite. This preference for the combination of positive and negative charges to balance to zero is an example of nature preferring zero totals of charge and energy, the latter either within energy types or across them. Since the only difference between matter and antimatter is the sign of charge, it is possible to choose to call the positive charged loops as matter and the negatively charged loops as antimatter, or vice versa. Whichever choice, it means that a neutral atom is a balance of positive matter, protons, stacks, against orbiting negative matter, electrons, or vice versa for time choice. Nature is trying to form neutral systems, and a battery is a simple matter-antimatter device. And the positively defined matter-proton core is composed of matter-up quarks and antimatter-down quarks. Since the loops have both positive and negative meons, their total fundamental energy is always zero because mass energy and charge energy are opposite types. The generated 1/6 electron charges always have an opposite mass energy in the twisting the meons. All meons always have zero total energy. All loops always have zero total energy. All composites always have zero total energy. All stable orbits have zero total energy. It is only how much of each type of energy is present within two systems interacting that produces the resultant effect. Thus the first law of thermodynamics is true in the most fundamental way.
Energy is conserved because it is always zero. What needs to be considered is how much of which types of energy are present in any system, and it is that which defines how encounters are affected. Related videos would be 1. The basic underlying structure of the universe, and 2. What happens when zero mass black holes unmerge. Thank you for watching.